Hello fellow STO gamers, this is Stormhold and this is my build on the Fleet Tactical Escort Tier 6, phasers and cannons. You might also know this ship as the Valiant. I've put the Defiant skin on this. Anyway, going into the build, we have 3 cannons which are Phase Biomodule Heavy Cannons Mark 15, Crit D4, with the epic modifier being Crit H, Crit D. These have a nice 2.5% chance to do a 2 km radius at target of additional 1000 to 5300 phaser damage split among primary target and up to 4 additional foes. And if you hit all the abilities, which I'm a little lazy, I've thrown it all on spacebar, you can see that pumps up to about 11,500, which is quite nice. And they do standard damage on there, as you can see, about 7,000 at the same time when all those buffs are running. The torpedo running up the front there is the enhanced biomolecular photon torpedo, also with the same modifiers, and that's paired with the heavy biomolecular phase turret, similar modifiers, but obviously just save 1 crit D for the proc. And if you run the more details, you can see this got a 2-set bonus, giving us an additional 7.5 bonus phase damage. I'll take it. On the turrets, you can see that we've got phase biomatter turrets on here as well, same modifiers again, with the same 2.5% chance to give us additional phaser damage split amongst primary target and 4 additional foes. So I've got 2 of those. Deflector, I'm running the Elite Fleet Intervention Protomatter Deflector from the Colony holding, which is unlocked at Tier 3. This gives a hull capacity, which is very much needed on a squishy little escort like this one. Some shield capacity as well for more survivability, some impulse expertise, we'll take it, along with some EPS, so that helps with Ox to Bat, very much so. Some Starship weapon specialization for improved crit chance, and some shield penetration as well for more damage abilities. And this obviously, the Colony crit works with your crit chance and your crit severity, which is 4% and 15% at max hull percentage, and as your hull decreases, so does this bonus. This build generally will stay above 89%. That's basically generally the lowest that it goes. I'll show you the survivability that's used to try and keep it there. So that's the deflector. Now on the engines, got prevailing innovated impulse engines from the competitive rep, which I've gone for this variation, which works on firing mode going off, gives you the boost, as opposed to, say, you go for the other ones which will work off the engineering, so off a heal will give the boost. I prefer these just because, seriously, this build doesn't need you to hit those heal buttons all too often, so I'd much prefer the speed boost and defense boost going off of the firing mode instead. So that gives you a 350% flight speed, flight turn, 15% bonus to your defense rating, which is very nice for keeping you alive, and then 10% increased recharge speed on tactical bridge officers, which is negligible with an Ox to Bat build. The warp core and shields, which is from the Praetorian Interceptor, which gives a boost with regards to amp and also weapons to shields. So as you can see, you've got warp core efficiency, maximum engine power, additional engine power, which is helping me get that amp there to be effective. And then it also adds a 7.5 for the engine power to your shield power, which is also quite nice for the amp. And then if you have a look, you can see amp, I'm getting the current total of 9.9% additional damage, all damage bonus. Now the 2-set bonus with the shield. Shield's mediocre, but it does give you this nice 2-set bonus of 19% bonus phaser damage. I'll take it. And that's the ship equipment there. We've gone on to consoles. I should say on devices, field modulator, which is from the Klingon art story arc, which is pretty easy to get, an extra bonus there. The only time not to use it is going against Voth ships, because they like to use proton damage, and which is Mercury, so that gives you the damage resistance and a defense rating for 15 seconds. And I've got the red matter capacity, which I use on doing story missions, and then I swap that out with the energy battery here for when I'm actually doing advanced queues. Engineering consoles, as you see I'm running the Gamma Rep, the Ordnance Accelerator, so that gives me a 25% projectile weapon damage and phaser damage, so that's nice. And I'll possibly most likely going to pair it up with the inhibiting phaser, heavy phaser turret, which you can get once you've got the reputation at tier 6, which I have done. I just haven't done it yet, so I haven't clicked on it yet because I'm still going for reducing the reputation gear. Keep meaning to do that, I haven't got around to doing it yet. Off the Bajorian Interceptor, I got the Domino console, so that gives you an innate bonus there of 15% to phaser damage and an accuracy, which will help with your scav volley. And then the activatable, which gives you a firing cycle haste of 25%, bonus all damage of 25%, recharge your speed on your bridge officer abilities by 25%, and then 100% recharge speed on your torpedo weapons, which is quite nice. And you can extend the duration of this by 2 seconds up to 20 seconds by killing foes, which is quite doable in this build in normal and advanced. Less so in elite because they've got more hit points. The other console here, which I believe is from Sunrise, which is the Quantum Phase Converter, gives you a bonus of 26.3% phaser damage, some auxiliary power to make that amp work. Well, actually less for the amp work, but it makes it easier to get more power when you do your Ox to Bat transfer. Some drain resistance, which is nice, and then it's also got an automatic restart, hot restart on your auxiliary when it's power when it's disabled. Obviously a lockout 60 seconds. One of the oldest consoles going, but still a good console, is the Assimilated module. So 1.2 crit chance, 12.1 crit severity, some additional weapon power, which is nice. Some damage control, passive hull regen. Not really enough points in that to really make it worthwhile, but we'll take it. It's there for free. Some control resistance, which is nice. 2 Lobby consoles in the build, as you can see. Tachyokinetic Converse for the extra crit chance, crit severity, turn rate, and just thrown in there some control resistance. And then binaural infusion circuits, which have got 2 things that I find is quite nice, which is one, the main reason, crit severity, 26.2%, and then Starship hull capacity, just make us a little less squishy. And some more control resistance, so you really don't need to spec that in the skills side of things. Tactical consoles from the Fleet Spire. So we've got phaser and crit chance, 3 of those, and then 2 crit severities. That's pretty much them done. Then on skills, space. I only really got one on shield restoration. This is for another ship that I run. I have a different build on, so you don't really need to spec there, although I do wonder if this absorption actually takes into any effect. This probably doesn't, but whatever. Hull restoration, hull cap, because it's a small ship, need it. Some shield cap, could possibly move that to there. Energy weapon training, probably move these 3 points out when I get the Agony Phase torpedo. Just sitting there waiting for a mirror event to happen. And then I'll probably move these 3 points, pop them down here. Yes, I don't have any hangers, but it gives nice little bonuses to your teammates. And if everybody does this, then you get like the same as what your hanger pets would do, because you get 4 iterations of this. I'm certainly going to do it once I get the Agony Phase torpedo. Right, Lieutenant Commander skills, like EPS, makes sense. Shunt, does anybody use this? I think it's a useless skill, but whatever. I'm not using it, it's there. 2 in the Impulse, I just don't think there's a big enough bonus to validate putting an additional point in there. We've already got enough control resistance, and we're not using control abilities from the consoles, so I don't bother wasting any there. Drain, we already got console once again, pretty much the same. We're not really doing any drain abilities, so I'm not bothering with those. Accuracy to help out on the scour volley, so they hit. 1 point in defensive maneuvering. I contemplated 2 points, but I needed the points elsewhere, so I left it with just the 1. Hull plating, I needed damage resistance just so we weren't too squishy. Who cares about these? They really don't do anything. Shield hardness, once again, 1 point here. I just didn't see wasting the additional points, and we had a few points just needed elsewhere. Weapon amplification and weapon specialization for the crit chance and crit severity, max them out because crit chance, crit severity just makes this build work. Power levels make the amp work. Long range targeting for that minus 20% maximum distance penalty, so we do more damage. Hull penetration, because we go with the on the traits we've got self-modulating fire, so we get 50% shield pen, so we're always going to be damaging the hull. We're less likely going to be doing, once the shields are gone, I just see these wasted points, so this is more valuable. Warp core potential, once again, work on that amp. Shield mastery, shield absorption, survivability. Specializations, I'm using intelligence officer, get a bit of defense. And you can see it gives me some damage resistance as well, some accuracy, totally worth it. Strategist, once again, this gives me some electrical damage. You can see some hull healing, temporary abilities. This is a crit chance, is what we're going to be using, but we're not going to really be using the threatening stance, that's just suicide. And then you can see we can placate foes, which will be a little bit of a survivability for us, as well as you can see some hull regeneration. It's split nicely, I think, between survivable and damage dealing, and also it gives us some extra shield capacity, which is nice also. Now on traits, personal traits, running ablative shell. So after receiving 10,000 damage, we get some healing back, some damage resistance as well, which also ties in quite nicely with the Starship trait Honored Dead, which after 10,000 cumulative damage, you get some damage resistance, some healing, and this one also, once the 20 stacks is worn off, you also get some temporary hit points. So they tie in quite nicely together. Biotech Patch, which works quite nicely on the hills, as well as also running energy refrequencer here on the space trait, so that boosts those numbers coming back to us as well. Duelist Further, so a bonus on 5% all damage, and also some accuracy rating, which can go up 3 times, so bonus 15 accuracy, which will help once again on Scar Volley. We've then got also Fleet Coordinator, bonus up to 10% damage there, so freebie, let's do it. Bonus damage, take it. Fluidic Cocaine, so when it does proc, and I generally get 2 stacks, I very rarely ever see the 3 stacks, I get bonus 5% energy damage, it's not too bad. Inspirational Leader, it's so cheap these days since they added it to the Affinity Lockbox. So 10 most Starship skills, and it can stack up to 3 times, so that's 30, why not, right? Pretty much everything has a chance to proc this to bone, to bring it up. Point blank shot, mission reward, up to 10% bonus energy damage based on your distance. Why not? Don't know about you, but when I'm in ISA, I'm pretty much bang on at the end, right next to the cube, just flying at it, rubbing up against it for that extra 10% bonus. Self-modulating fire, brilliant way of getting on critical, outgoing critical hits, and this thing crits like nobody's business. You get 50% shield pen for your energy and your projectile weapons. Just, does damage. It's great. Superior cannon training, so this is the trait that's upgraded from normal cannon training, which you can get from K13 fleet holding. It goes from 5% to 7.5%. It's bonus damage, so you've got to go for it. Terran targeting systems, this gives you a nice 15% added on your critical severity. The only downside is incoming critical hits will reduce your speed by 10% for 5 seconds. But when you're running the engine with a nice 350% flight speed turn, when this procs, it totally overrides it. You got your evasive maneuvers to override it, and also you got your attack pattern omega to override that, so it's not so bad. Right, Starship traits. All hands on deck. So there's recharge on your science and captain abilities by about 5%. 10% on your science abilities, 5% on your captain abilities. Now I'm looking to probably swap this out and put in supercharged weapons. I haven't got that starship though, which I think is the Tactical Odyssey. So I probably will swap that out at some point when I get that. Then I've got Cold Hide, which was from the Winter Event ship. What's really nice about this, adds a debuff to your weapons, which then you can obviously add to your enemies. As you can see, flight speed, damage resistance, and power levels. Because that's a debuff, you can now use it as a controlled effect, because that's what that class is as. So you get a bonus of 9.4% bonus energy damage once you got this up to rank 2. I think it's 7.5 on rank 1. Very nice. Emergency weapon cycle, which is from the tier 6 Arbiter, so it gives you a weapon cost reduction and a 20% firing cycle haste, which is mainly what I'm using it for. Honor Dead, which we've already gone over, which is quite nice, and then Withering Barrage, which is from the standard tier 6 North Fleet variant of this ship, which adds an additional 4 seconds to the duration of Scatter Volley, which means you get almost 100% uptime, which is very nice. Space Reputation, running Precision for the crit chance. Advanced Targeting Systems for the crit severity. Already gone over controlled countermeasures for the bonus damage, thanks to the Cold Hearted. Magnified Firepower for the 6.3% bonus weapon damage. Energy Free Conserve to try and pull some hit points back. And that's everything there. Now stations. Got SRO, 2 of those. Got Nevo from the Del Mission Arts or Story Arc, which gives you Pirate and Efficient. The SROs obviously give you crit chance and crit severity. I'm running Nyota Uhura and Montgomery Scott from the TOS holograms, which I don't think are available anymore, but I'm sure it'll come back around again at some point. I'll show you their traits. They're negligible. They're basically placeholders while I work on getting our Omega Armada colony holding up to tier 5 so I can get the Kentari for the extra damage buffs. And I'll show you the traits on Montgomery Scott. You've got Techie, so increased hull, damage control, not by much. And then if we show you Nyota Uhura, she's got Tactician, so +5 to energy and projectile, along with leadership, 3% hull regeneration and 5% stole, and 20% resistance rating, duration, subsystems offline. The marginals, like I said, placeholders. That's on the stations, and as you can see, Sky Volley, High Yield 3, Attack Pattern Delta. Now, if you're going into a tank, then you can obviously switch that out for a beta, but I generally do pugs on my own, so I haven't got a tank, so I'm using that just for survivability. Game Sight 2, distributed targeting for additional AoE damage. Attack Pattern Omega, as you can see, for the defense, the bonus damage, the flight speed and flight turn. And you also got a defense ring in there as well as the damage resistance, so that's quite nice. And I'm running tanking on beam 2 here to strip shield, so I'm doing more damage to hull. Hazard a bit is obviously for not only for the heals but more to remove the plasma burns, which Borg generally like to do, but obviously it's also got a nice little all damage resistance rating thrown in there as well. I'll take it. That's pretty much everything there. Now we have a look at duty officers. So duty officers on active space, I've got energy weapons officer for crit severity buff on my energy weapons. I've got 3 technicians, which I've got from the B-Tran cluster. They're free, takes a little while, so it's a little bit painful, but you will get them for free, and it's certainly better than shelling out a lot of credits on the exchange for something you can get for free. Got Warp Core Engineer, which on emergency power weapons, the ability that I've got here just adds an extra bit of, you can have a look, see, 20% chance to add 25 bonus power levels. Why not? Certainly helps when I've used the Ox Bat, and that power one goes off again and boosts my weapon up so I can hit my hazard emitters once after it's been set to 0. Got Exocomp as just a placeholder at the moment. I really don't know what to stick in there at the present. So when I'm using my energy weapon batteries, I'm getting 10% bonus to damage. But then when I've got my red mag capacitor, that gives me a +5 to all power levels. It's alright, it's not too bad. And you get that from the Junior Officer Weekend, which there's one coming up soon. Also, the only other thing to note is on the ground, I've got my ground warfare specialist, which gives me increased damage versus Borg, and that works, as you can see, in both space and ground maps. It's a nice little additional, and that's everything there. And just very quickly, instead of showing you a video of me flying around ISA, which, hell, we've all done that TFO plenty of times. You don't need a video of me just flying around shooting at stuff. So that's my end result. As you can see, 122.6k DPS, which I did 15.21 million damage. And as you can see, I probably didn't need my delta so much in that run because I had a very nice person that just randomly was in there doing 169k and pulling most of the hate. So my delta really wasn't, my attack pattern delta really wasn't doing too much for me that time around. So beta probably would have been better. Thank you ever so much. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you can take away some points from it. Leave your comments down below, and I may do an additional refinement video later on when I've got the turret and the energy torpedo. Thanks again. Take care.